It is not Transfer Tuesday. I missed that, but I still want to talk about the money moves from the past week. And I'm going to start with saying I bought myself something. I'm pretty excited about it, but I bought myself a hydration pack. I know this is so random, but I've been wanting one for so long, and I have been wanting one for the walks that I go on every day. I pretty much go walking or hiking every day for a few hours at least. So it came with a hydration bladder, but this is also like, oh my gosh, it's so much more comfortable on my back. It's really like ergonomically friendly and breathable. Oh, it's so nice, and has pockets on the front. You guys, I realize I'm dorking out right now. I had not heard of this brand Nathan before, so of course I quickly Googled it before I bought it, and yeah, apparently their hydration packs and their backpacks are all over $100, and I actually got this. It was 20 bucks, but with tax and shipping it was 27. Pretty dang good deal. And it came with, like I said, a 2-liter hydration bladder. And fortunately, so the ad said that this bag had never been used, and it does look really nice, really clean, like no one has used it. Yeah, has good pockets, but I don't know, this looks a little dingy to me, but you know, we could get past that. Maybe it's not, maybe it's just me. I guess it's not, now that I'm looking at it. But it came with a cracked valve on the bottom of the bladder, so there's nothing wrong with the tube, but unfortunately the valve on the bottom of the bag is cracked, so it's just going to leak. So even though this has supposedly never been used, it will never get used because it won't hold water now, which is kind of annoying, but totally fine. At least the like bladder part is easily replaceable and much cheaper. Not a big deal. This was the more important part. So there, I spent 27 bucks. I wish that was all. It's been an expensive last week, mostly today, because today I also paid my annual business fee of $225. So my like LLC management fee, and I also paid my annual business license of supposed to be $100, but I got the email reminder today and it was like, oh, payments due by April 1st, which I should have been tracking, but it's gotten lost in the chaos. But yeah, I had a late fee, so I had to pay $150 in total. Those are normal yearly business expenses that I expect to have. The other thing I paid today was the $1,500 early lease termination fee for moving out of here early. As I've mentioned, the severance pay that I got from my last job when they let me go, I have been setting that aside for these for moving again from here, which is going to take a new security deposit and first month's rent to get into a new place. It can also cover this early termination fee from here, luckily, which sucks. Obviously, none of this is what I wanted or would have planned for, and financially sucks, but it is what it is. Yeah, we still don't know where we're moving. Although, I'm feeling better about moving at the end of July, so for August 1st, I have to be out of here. I think I've just been looking a little too early. Maybe I was just looking at a weird time, or maybe I was just being a touch over dramatic when I previously mentioned that, like, I'm priced out of everywhere. Oh no. It's like, it's partially true. The area as I want to be in, I'm certainly priced out of, which would be back in New Hampshire where I was on the coast, or southern coastal Maine is like my desired area, but that's kind of like everyone's desired area, so those areas are a bit more expensive. I've kind of been talking myself into it being okay to look a bit further north, where prices are definitely a lot more favorable. Yeah, it'll be a little bit more of a drive when I do want to get south, like back down to New Hampshire for concerts and things, or even Massachusetts. I guess, you know, occasionally there's concerts in Boston and south of Boston that I want to go to. So it'll just be a little bit extra driving for those moments, but I think over the long term, like year of a lease, I'd rather pay a cheaper rent and be in a location that's a little bit further away from my desired area. I feel like I'm coming to terms with being okay with that. And plus, the more, you know, if I do go further north, I'm closer to my family. So that obviously is awesome for getting to see them more. That is 100% a huge part of the reason why I want to get back up to Maine. So, and plus that's like where I feel myself wanting to put down roots, which is totally weird because growing up, I was adamant against Maine. Like, ooh, I could not wait to get out of there, but time, age, and perspective, I guess. So, anyway, I'm feeling much more hopeful about the apartment hunt situation. I feel very confident that I'll be able to find something, stay in my budget, maybe even go a little cheaper, dare I say. There's been a few considerable options. I'm going to be highly scrutinous on the noise level, of course, and as always, I need south-facing, sunny windows. It's just not negotiable. A little outdoor space would be so amazing. I would love to get my stinky ass work gear out of my car because it smells like dead fish in there all the time. No matter how good I try to clean my gear at the end of the workday, like on the boat, some smells just don't come out. My car is starting to smell like that a bit. So I would love to have some outdoor space or like shed space, you know, somewhere where I can just set things outdoors, not let them bake in my car in the summer in the hot sun all day. It's so gross. But speaking of dead fish, why I missed Transfer Tuesdays because I was on a boat. I finally got my third trip, thank goodness, because 5 days prior to that I had gotten skunked out either for weather or the captain wasn't going that day. 5 days of things that made it not an option to go offshore and work. So Tuesday was finally the day, and thank goodness, because that's only my third trip in, when was training done? May 21st. I'm averaging like 1 trip a week. I do get paid this Friday, but that's only going to be for 2 trips and like a few hours of paperwork. And that one morning I went to the dock and the captain never showed up. It's gonna be like a $400 paycheck. Or 400, yeah. Well, per week, but like and it's going to be the same for the next pay period too, which is bi-weekly. Man, that sucks. But it's just for this like certification phase in my first 4 trips, as long as they look okay, which first 2, so far so good. Yeah, it's just going to be, you know, a light month on the income. It's all right. We've saved for this. We've prepared for this. It's totally fine. But on that foot, luckily, I did not even feel nauseous on Tuesday. So I'm like feeling excited about that because I was worried. The first one was real bad. The second one was better, but still like a really long day to just like have constant nausea all day. So I was losing hope about the job overall, but third time's a charm maybe, or maybe I feel like I've got my rhythm down with when to take Dramamine and what to eat, and make sure I do have some coffee before I go so I don't get my lack of caffeine migraine in the middle of the day and then I'm stuck out there with nothing I can do about it. Gosh, just gotta learn, get through the learning process all over again because it has been many years since I last did this job. So I just need to figure out, and of course my body's different now too. Like I'm not the spring chicken I used to be, so it's a little bit longer of a recovering from long days like that. I don't know, but that brings me to the other thing I want to talk about, which is like a follow-up to my last video about wanting to kind of give up on the FIRE movement or how I'm feeling about that. And at the end I put the feelers out there for what you guys think about it, or like what other options maybe I'm not seeing, because you know, when you're stuck in the weeds and you got your blinders on, you don't always see all the perspectives and inputs. So oh my gosh, you guys are so amazing. The comments are just, they were so helpful, and they really got me like re-inspired to give a shit about something, which was good. I don't know if that's a little bit of what I've been lacking lately, just because I have been down in the dumps about feeling like I made a mistake by moving here and like costing myself money in that way and more upheaval in my life when all I want is like home-based stability and I can't find it. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, there was a couple comments that like really slapped me in a way that hadn't before, just because some of you guys were like, yo, it's okay to consider part-time work, or it's okay to like still strive for barista fire if you do want to work and you're okay with like having some income from W-2 work and some income other ways and like making it all work. Over the years of me sharing this story, this whole process, there have been plenty of times where people have commented like, why don't you look for part-time work? For some reason, I've just really previously dismissed part-time work because, well, one, I was stuck in that mentality of like chasing the salary and the job title prestige in years past, of course, because of the financial situations I was in and just like going down the path of, sadly, what's normal in our society, which is like operating with credit card debt and revolving consumer debt and always having a car payment and needing the new cell phone every year, and just like a loop of what to me just feels like monthly payments and like overextending myself. And I totally like got wrapped up in that, lived in that. And plus the health insurance, you guys know that has been scaring me to death for a long time. Like the thought of not having an employer sponsored health insurance plan, just because I was so afraid it was going to be so expensive and such garbage coverage, which the one I picked probably is, but it actually turned out to not be that expensive. I don't know why I was so afraid of that. But I think by getting let go from a job and forced to be on unemployment for the first time and like having that shock to the system, I guess, which I realize is a privilege to say, I know, and taking this job that I just started a couple months ago, which for me honestly is not the dream job, but I took it because it is in my field. I've done this job before in years past. It can be amazingly, wildly crazy and awesome. To get off unemployment, I was like, why don't I just go do that again? That sounds more fun than sitting at a computer all day, which we talked about last week. It's the first job I've ever had where it has not offered employer-sponsored health insurance, so I've been on my own. So by being kicked on unemployment, I don't want to say I felt forced to take this job, but it was just like the first one that was offered to me in a horrifying job market and job hunting experience. It's a shit show out there, but so to get off of unemployment, get back to work in my field, do something that is at least familiar, even if it's not comfortable, it's familiar, and there is comfort and familiarity for me. And so I took the job and understood I would be on my own for health insurance, but like I said, it wasn't that bad. So even though so many of you have told me over time, girl, it's not that expensive, it's gonna be fine, there was something about investigating it that it just put such a wall up for me. I don't know what that was about, but so I've always shied away from exploring the possibility of part-time work, mostly because I had never been able to afford part-time work. But now that I'm several years, I think, comfortably operating in relatively the same budget every month for years, I'm very comfortable with like my thermometer on how much money I do and don't need every month. So now looking at part-time work and saying, you know what? Yeah, the pay is generally less than full-time positions, but my goal is to live below my means, to set aside a little bit for savings and investing every month. If I can do that, it doesn't matter. If part-time employment covers the bills, and if the job itself brings a level of happiness that like gets me excited to get up and get out of bed and actually go to work every day, that at this point in my life for me feels exponentially more important than taking some other job just because maybe it pays more. I've done that for many years. I did the thing and I turned my financial life around drastically, and I'm infinitely grateful for that, but like I don't need to be doing that anymore. I think it's been me being forced to get my own health insurance just because of the job that I had to take to get off of unemployment. It like ripped that scary band-aid off, right? So now part-time work that has less pay and generally does not offer health benefits, I'm way less scared of that because I know as long as the money makes sense, then it's totally fine. And what's funny is I edited a segment out of last week's video of telling you guys about my favorite job I've ever had that was a part-time, well, it was a full-time, it was seasonal position. So yeah, when I've been saying part-time, I just mean like, I don't necessarily mean the hours are part-time. It could also be seasonal, a seasonal but full-time position. I think either option could be great, like a part-time year-round or a full-time seasonal. But this job that I had was a full-time seasonal, and I was working for the state of Maine in their Sea Run Fisheries Division, and I was helping transport river herring from the major rivers in Maine and then transporting them throughout the freshwater lakes and ponds and streams upriver that the fish can't naturally get to because there is a ton of dams all over the waterways of Maine from years and years ago when a lot of like hydroelectricity was a big thing up in Maine. So I think, please don't quote me on this, in the 60s and 70s, and the dams have just remained in place. And so fish like river herring and salmon in particular that live in the ocean but then travel upstream to the very lake, river, or stream, you know, not river, but the very lake or stream or pond that they were hatched in, that's where they want to get back to. And it's amazing that they can find it, which when you really stop and think about it. But river herring do the same thing. And so we would go to the major rivers where they have fishways. So they have a little swim passage off to the side of the dam where fish can travel upstream and get up over the dam, go spawn, and then come back to the ocean. They can just fall over the dam with the water and back out they go. But not every dam has a fishway. And on the major riverways, in the major dams, there are fishways that let the fish up, and some continue on, and some get trapped into a little pond at the top, kind of. It's a man-made thing, but you back like a big old water tank truck back up to it, and you pump them into the water tank, and then you drive that big ass water tank inland into all these very often remote, not always remote, but certainly a lot of dirt roads. And you just dump them into the freshwater bodies. Not willy-nilly, obviously there's a lot that goes into it, but it allows them to get back to the freshwater where they want to spawn, not necessarily where they were born, but they get to a freshwater body. Maine, I don't know about other states because I haven't looked, but Maine is like slowly working at removing a lot of these old dams, so things aren't improving, but there still needs to be someone that trucks the fish around until then. I was telling a coworker about it during the training for this job, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool. You were like a fish taxi." Had not thought of it like that, but that's a really cute way of thinking about it. But yes, that was one of my favorite freaking jobs, and that was a full-time seasonal position. And I thought, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, why don't we get onto that State of Maine website and just see what's going on for job openings? And wouldn't you know it, there's a job opening for that exact position for the current season that we're in. In fact, it says they're hiring 2, but who knows? Maybe they've already filled one. I don't know, but it's still open, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I think tomorrow I'm just gonna slide a very finely curated resume into their DMs and see what happens, because why not? How fun would that be? How fun? Yeah, I'm not like trying to be scatterbrained or do the job hopping thing, but I just thought it was interesting. But I'll keep you posted if that goes anywhere. But that seasonal position is full-time, and it's from April to December. That's a long stretch. When I think seasonal, I think like 6 months max, but dang, that's 8 months. That's only 4 months a year where you would have to worry about finding something else to do or saving up during those other months and just having a few months off. But for whatever reason, I just wasn't allowing myself to go there with the part-time work, even though many of you have told me to just consider it over the years. I just never felt like I could until now. But I think it's just this specific sequence of events that led me to ripping off that health insurance band-aid and just figuring out what it was going to cost and get over it. And it just wasn't that bad. It's like $125 a month. Not great, but I think that's amazing. So it just makes those part-time or seasonal positions, they're the actual fun ones. If you are a field scientist, you know what I'm saying. There's more fun to go play outside and do research outside in the woods, on the water, around the water, in nature. Those are way more fun. The higher paying jobs are the ones stuck behind a computer, answering phone calls and dealing with people and other agencies and blah, blah, blah. It's not really my thing. So that position's paying $18 an hour, which obviously not great. What is that? 40 hours a week? Yeah. I mean, that leaves a pretty thin margin for extra to save or invest. Then I think the job I have right now, the days are incredibly long, or they can be. They're not always. Tuesday was actually not so bad. But the trip before that, it was like 17, 18 hours. And when you divide that out, I get paid a flat rate every C day. So whether it would be a 2-hour trip, which would be like, it'd be amazing. It's never going to be though. Or an 18-hour day, I'm paid the same. And when you stretch that pay over an 18-hour day, then my pay is a little bit more, like $18 an hour in that moment. So it's like, you know? So I guess all that to say, I really appreciate all of the comments on the last video and reminding me that things don't have to be black and white, because I know I very much get caught in the black and white thinking, especially when it comes to work and financial matters. Like many of you mentioned, W-2 work does not have to be contiguous. Like, it can be seasonal, it can be part-time, it can be piecemealing a couple different things. It doesn't have to look all one way. And I really liked the financially independent work optional acronym reminder. I feel like I heard that in years past, but just totally forgot about it. That seems like exactly what I'm looking for, because yeah, work optional would be amazing. I would love to not have to work if I didn't want to, but I actually just want to. I just want to do something fun, something that I enjoy. And I know not everyone gets that. You know, some people made that very clear. And so even though early retirement might be more of a long-term option, because yeah, someday I'm sure I'll want to not work anymore, but now is not that time. I don't mind working. I like having something to do. And being financially independent in general, like I said last week, it is something that I think every single person should always be striving for. Whether you're trying to retire early or not, I think striving towards financial independence means you're always at least trying to make a consistent effort forward to a better financial situation, which is always going to be a positive thing for anyone in any situation ever. Because at the end of the day, anything can happen and things can change on a dime. An employer could let you go without any warning whatsoever. I think so many people experienced that in 2020 and since, and it's not a great feeling to have your whole financial existence at the whim of someone else, or most likely a corporation or some business that just doesn't necessarily care. And that is not a fun place to be. So no matter what anyone's goal is ever, like setting yourself up financially to be okay to weather storms is never going to be a bad idea. Thank you guys so much for all of the supportive and encouraging comments. I know I feel like I've been a bit scatterbrained lately, and I feel like I'm all over the place. And I don't love that feeling, and I'm not trying to be scatterbrained. Like I have shiny object syndrome whatsoever. I'm just trying to find a life and existence and a home base that like brings me peace and happiness. I feel like that's the most important thing in my life nowadays. You know, I got the financial chaos out of my life, and now I just want living situation chaos out of my life. Just put my roots down and just live a happy, quiet little existence. I'm just trying to find that and find the best path and avenue, and life isn't always straightforward and free of hiccups. This apartment is a big hiccup. A lesson, to be sure, always. I don't always make the right move or make the right decision, but I try to learn, integrate, and move forward. I appreciate all of you hanging with me through this little bit of turbulence, and hopefully we'll come out the other end with a little bit of, you know, happiness and outdoor space. It would be nice. We'll see. Bye, guys.